Well, good afternoon and welcome to this afternoon's meeting of the full council. Can't believe it's my last meeting as chairman and mayor, and the year has gone by somewhat quickly, as previous mayors I'm sure would affirm. So without further ado, we'll kick off with, hang on, where am I going? I need to read, yes, I should know this by now. This meeting will be recorded by the council for live broadcast online. Am I reading this out?
Yeah.
Yeah. At www.cheltenham.gov.uk and YouTube channels. The chair will confirm this at the start of the meeting, indeed. If you participate in the meeting, you consent to be filmed and to the possible use of those images and sound recordings for broadcasting and or training purposes. Okay, thank you. So we now go on to apologies. Councillor Chelling, Clark, Clucas, Collins, Joy, Oliver and Pinnaker. Any more apologies? No, thank you. Okay, so now move on to communications by myself. As I say, I can't believe how quickly this year has gone. I would just, I'd just like to talk about a couple of things that I've been doing in recent months, and perhaps the most important one, in a way, was going down to the depot and presenting a long service award to Simon Stanley, who has worked for this council for 50 years. Joined the council straight from school. He's not actually retiring. He's done his 50 years and he is carrying on. So it was such a lovely event because, as well as Simon being there, we had Andrew Rainey, 25 years service, Andrew Spence, 38 years service, Graham Cummings, 40 years service, Jason Swinford, 28 years service, John Stanley, 31 years service. So, you know, we have some incredible employees working for us across the council. But I thought it was really important because I think it also shows that we are a decent employer and that we look after our employees. So that for me was a lovely event to go to and to thank them all for what they do for our town. And then I went to Buckingham Palace with the mayoress last week. I was very fortunate that the invite fell just within my mayoral year. So we had a lovely afternoon in the grounds of Buckingham Palace, meeting. I met the mayor of Gloucester there, I know her quite well now. And it's also a pleasure to meet, actually, two of the trustees from Cheltenham Welcomes Refugees, one of my charities, who recently were awarded the King's Award. And they were there due to that. So it was lovely to meet up with fellow Cheltonians. And then, yeah, we had a visit from representatives from Annecy and Göttingen as part of the Jazz Festival. And what an incredible event the Jazz Festival was this year. And he got to a couple of events. I know Councillor Horwood spent most nights enjoying jazz in various venues. But it was amazing. It was a fabulous event. And it's great that we were able, actually, to welcome our guests from Annecy and Göttingen. And we had some really good meetings with them on the Saturday, where we talked about things like the twinning link and also things like our paint exhibition, that we do. And it's a really good exchange of ideas. And I think that just goes to show the importance of international relationships. So well done to Richard Gibson and well done to you, Angie, for keeping that twinning. I know it's not called twinning anymore, Cheltenham International Partnership Association, keeping that going. And long may that continue. It was also a pleasure to go to Pitfield Pump Room for World Tai Chi Day, which is a sort of spiritual dance and movement event, which lasts about an hour. So I thought I'd just pop along and say hi and nip off. But actually I stayed and did the whole thing. And actually it's very, very therapeutic and very, very enjoyable. And finally, I went back to Whaddon Road, the home of, as you all know, of Cheltenham Town Football Club, for the Cheltenham Youth League finals. And I presented the final for the under-17s. And the Cheltenham Football League actually goes far and wide. The final was between Hereford Pegasus and English Bicknell in the Forest of Dean. So it's testament, I think, to the organisers and the people who run the Cheltenham Football League, what an incredible amount of work they do to keep that league going across the whole of the county, because all the other leagues have often collapsed through a lack of teams, lack of membership, lack of organisers, but Cheltenham Football League carries on and is growing and growing. So that's a little summary of my last few weeks. I've had a fabulous year as mayor. You'll hear more about it later on. Thank you all for your support. I think chairing this meeting has probably been the easiest thing I've had to do, but I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Cheltenham is a fabulous, wonderful town. We all know that, but it's fabulous and wonderful because of the people. So thank you all very much. We now move on then to election of mayor. So I will call upon Councillor Atherstone to move the motion proposing Councillor David Willingham as mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to propose that Councillor Dr. David Willingham be and is hereby elected Mayor of the Borough of Cheltenham and Council Chair for the ensuing municipal year.
Thank you. And if I can just ask Councillor Boyes to formally second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to second the motion and that Councillor Dr. David Willingham be elected as the Mayor for the next year. Thanks.
Thank you. So we now move to an electronic vote.
Right, so we now move on to election of the Deputy Mayor for 2025-2026. So I would first like to call upon Councillor Hay to move the motion proposing Martin Horwood as Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I have great pleasure in proposing that Councillor Martin Horwood be and is hereby elected Deputy Mayor of the Borough of Cheltenham and Council Vice Chair for the ensuing municipal year.
Thank you. And I now need to call on Councillor Davies to formally second the motion, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to second the motion that Councillor Howard be Deputy Mayor for the next municipal year.
Thank you. So we now put the motion to the vote that Councillor Martin Horwood be and hereby elected Deputy Mayor for the Borough of Cheltenham for the ensuing municipal year. There we go.
Yeah, it's showing on his screen. There we go.
There we go. I think I pressed it and then it didn't press. So let's go there. So congratulations to Martin. So Councillor Horwood, would you like to come and take the, not quite the hot seat, but the second hottest seat? There we go. Right, with that, we now move on to declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest from anyone? I am not seeing any hands. So with that, we will move on to agenda item 6, which is minutes of the last meeting, or in fact the last meetings. So first off, to approve the minutes from the 21st of February. So are we all happy that they are a true and accurate record? Or is that show of hands or an electronic vote? So a show of hands for those to be approved. I think that's carried. I think it's unanimous. And then for the 17th of March 2025, again, a show of hands that those are true and correct. I think those are correct as well.
There'll be one abstention for each for the new councillor.
Yep. Right. So let's now move on to Mayor's announcements. Well, I will start off by thanking Paul, Councillor Baker, for his work during the past year. It's been really good to work with you. And just to say thank you for all that you've done, all of the way you've promoted the town and what have you. It will be a hard act to follow, but I will do the best I can. So thank you, Paul. Moving on, I then need to welcome Councillor Hannah Healy over there, representing Charlton Kingsford following by-election on the 1st of May. So welcome to the council and congratulations on winning the by-election. Congratulations are also in order to all of those from this chamber elected on the same day to serve on Gloucestershire County Council. And as part of that, I hope everyone will join me in thanking Paul as Deputy Returning Officer and Kim in electoral services, and all of the other officers who participated, whether as presiding officers, counting agents, whatever role they played in the elections, and just thank them for all of their work that made the event run so smoothly. Prior to becoming mayor, I attended a couple of events of note as deputy mayor. I attended the AGM of the Gloucestershire branch of SAFA, the Armed Forces charity, and it's worth people being aware of them in case you get any casework involving members who are currently serving, former members or members of the reserve forces and their families, as they are quite well placed to tap up other charities and other organisations for assistance. I also attended a dinner at the Jazz Festival where I was able to say bienvenue to guests from Annecy and willkommen to guests from Göttingen, in light of the fact both of these twin towns were represented and had people who participated in events at the Jazz Festival. Something I'm sure everyone will agree highlights the immense value these international relationships have in terms of supporting the arts at one of the town's major festivals. For our many residents who are of the Catholic faith, they will have been very happy to have heard the words Habemus Papam, and I think we should wish Pope Leo XIV every success during his papacy, and let us hope that nations across the world listen to the calls for peace that come from the Vatican. Obviously, as new mayor, there is the mayor's charities, and those of you at mayor making this evening will hear more about that. But I'm going to send round an email about give as you earn. So from our council allowances, it's possible to do a give as you earn, which would donate to a charity of your choice, maybe the mayor's charities. It's something that I've done ever since I've been a councillor here for the past nine years, supporting every previous mayor's charities, irrespective of what they are. There's no compulsion, of course, on anyone, but I would be really grateful if people would consider if that's something they'd be willing to do. Finally, on a more sombre note, we need to announce the death of former councillor and honorary alderman Malcolm Stennett. Malcolm represented Prestbury from 2000 until 2021. And if anyone would like to share any memories of Malcolm, I'd like to invite them to indicate to do so, after which I'll ask people to stand for a minute's silence. I know the leader has had some words, so if I can hand over to you, Rowena.
Thank you, Mayor. So I was lucky enough to serve with Malcolm for a good many years. He was a very decent, honest man. I attended his funeral, of which there were a number of more of the older generation of councillors, should I say, for those that would remember Malcolm when he was around. He was a very long-serving councillor for Prestbury, and he was also an honorary alderman here. And it was a very nice, pleasant celebration of a life well lived with community at the heart. Malcolm was a well-known figure and often seen in Pittville Park with his wife and their beloved four-legged friends, of which he had two. You could never miss Malcolm because I've forgotten what the breed was, but it was a great big white dog. And often there were lots of photographs of Malcolm at the funeral with Malcolm and his dogs. So obviously an enormously important part of his life. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any other members that would like to say any words? Councillor Smith, stand.
Thank you, Mayor. I had the privilege of working with Malcolm through engineering at Dotis. Met him a few times, had a few good laughs, put me straight on a few things with what he did. But he was always the gentleman, always the person you could go and talk to and get a sensible answer without any quibble on what you were doing or who you were. And he had a lot of respect, and a lot of people respected him too. The thing that got me most of all when I heard about his death was that there was 2 ambulances, a quick response car, and 3 police cars outside his house when they went there. And the first medic that got there said, "Well, how's the dogs?" Not about Malcolm, but how the dogs. And I think Malcolm would have really, really appreciated that because of his dogs. So, yeah, I have some sweet and lovely memories of Malcolm. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other members who would like to comment? I'm not seeing any hands. So if I can ask those of you who are able to please stand for a minute. Thank you very much. Please be seated. So now we move on to communications by the Leader of the Council. Rowena.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you and congratulations. And I do hope that you have a very fulfilling year. I'd also like to join you in welcoming Councillor Hannah Healy, who joins us for the first time today. I'd also like to add my thanks to those of yours, to Councillor Paul Baker for his contribution to the town and, of course, chairing our meetings. An additional thank you to Councillor Horwood, who's been a very valued member but is stepping down today from our cabinet, and congratulations to you. I know I proposed you, but still congratulations on becoming Deputy Mayor. We've just talked about Malcolm, but I also thought that I'd like to mention our honorary freeman, Les Bonney, who sadly lost his wife Beryl recently, and that we send this council's condolences to him and his family. Since our last meeting, I've made some minor portfolio changes due to the fact that Martin is stepping down to be Deputy Mayor. So Alicia Lewis will be the new lead member for Golden Valley and Major Developments. Peter Jeffries will take on the Finance and Assets. Isaac Tailford will move to Economic Development, Wellbeing and Culture. And I've also moved the public realm street scenes into this portfolio because I believe that it's very linked to our economy and our place. I'd like to welcome Paul Baker, who joins us as a Cabinet Member for Waste, Recycling, Parks and Gardens and Green Open Spaces. Also, I'd like to say a big thank you. Ian is stepping down from the Cabinet, and I'd like to take this opportunity to say a big thank you to my friend and colleague for your contribution to the Cabinet over the last 4 years. You've been a valuable member of the team, and we wish you well. Therefore, we will be welcoming a new Cabinet member following this group, the Liberal Democrat group, for electing them, and I anticipate that this will be by the end of May. With the changes to the Cabinet, there will also be changes to some committees. Councillor Frank Allen will take up the role as Vice Chair of Planning. Councillor Doby will be joining Planning. Councillor Hannah Healy will join Overview and Scrutiny, with Councillor Allen stepping down from that. Many congratulations, as you already said, Councillor, to all of those that held or won their seats in the recent County Council elections. I very much look forward to working closely with the new Liberal Democrat administration and building a strong relationship with their leader, Lisa Spivey. At this, our annual council meeting, I just wanted to pause for thought on what this year has given us, and nothing small has happened. We had all up borough elections this time last year, swiftly followed by a general election, swiftly followed by that with the new government bringing forward local government reform, followed just 10 days ago by county council elections. And that's all in addition to delivering our corporate plan, which saw us bring housing services back in-house in a record 7 months period of time. It's to better serve our residents and strengthen the wider team. And this alongside building more houses, investing in our communities, retaining green and purple flags for our parks, gardens and nighttime economy, the opening of the MX at the same time as the new computing school at the university, all part of this administration's plan to be a partner in building our ecosystem, and the success finally of seeing the Golden Valley moving forward. Just at this week's Cyber UK event, the Secretary of State, in his keynote speech, used the Golden Valley as a key driver for growth. It's going to be another busy year, but all in all, it was a very busy year this year. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hay. So we now move on to agenda item 9, which is to receive petitions, and I believe there are none. Public questions, item 10, no questions have been received. Item 11, member questions, again, no questions have been received. So we get on to item 12, which is a community governance review and a report of the leader. So again, if I can ask you to introduce the report, please, Rowena.
Thank you, Mayor. Should have taken a sip while I could. So with what I've just said about local government review, What that means for us here in Cheltenham is the potential that we're not going to be here anymore and that we will become a part of a larger organisation. Whether that's 2 unitaries or 1, we will be a unitary of one kind or another. We currently have 5 parish councils in Cheltenham that represent those local communities. With Cheltenham Borough Council going, there's going to be a big part of our town that doesn't have that very local representation. And so I felt that it's really important at this point in time that we bring this forward. And that's on top of everything else. We've also started another track of work that is and I've created a cabinet member working group that's cross-party to help bring that together. It's quite a long process on one hand. On the other hand, it's quite quick. It's a year it will take. So what I'm asking council to do today is what I have to do is, having created all of that, I then have to come to council to say that actually need council's approval to approve the terms of reference as they're set out in the appendices that you've all had. So this is the start of the process, is to get that permission. We've already met as a working group to set up those terms of reference that we've put before you today. Very ably led by Claire Hughes in her role in this. But so we go out to consultation to the wider public. We've already met with some of the parishes, because some parishes might want to get smaller, they might want to get bigger, we might want to create new ones. All of that will come further down the line. This is literally just the start of the process. And then we go out to consultation. We then gather all that information back in, and then we go out to further consultation on what we've been told that people would like to see. Now, whether that's creating a town council, a parish council, or more of, or all parishes, that's a way down the line. But it is important on the government timelines that have been set is that we get this in place before we go through that local government reorganisation, in order to protect actually our community, so everybody, all of our residents, all have an opportunity to have a voice. I think, Mayor, that's all I want to say. I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you very much. Right, first off, are there any questions for the leader? So I've got Councillor Allen and then Councillor Horwood.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Hay, and the working group for a very sensible and well put together group of reasons. I just had one question, which was to double check if we will be voting on the timetable, and in particular on the date and the month for the reorganisation order, or if it is just solely the terms of reference. I know that we're also voting, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I also know we're voting on the start of the consultation and the start of the review period today as well. So I'm just checking that we're not voting on the reorganisation order at the moment either.
Councillor Hay?
Today, council is just voting on the terms of reference.
Thank you. And Councillor Horwood?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Actually, my question is on slightly similar territory, because at 2.12, the report sets out an indicative timetable, which implies a reorganisation order being made by February 2026, which, if it's a kind of minimal set of adjustments to parish boundaries and so on, is a good and ambitious timetable. But if there were bigger implications, for instance, to the very existence of parish councils, which currently have budgets, neighbourhood plans in process, employ staff, and have quite established working relationships in their communities, that would seem like an incredibly ambitious timetable, which might cause 1 or 2 logistical problems. So I just wondered, it says indicative, but if more ambitious sort of changes were being taken or being considered, especially in the light of unitary status, which might not actually be resolved by then, quite what leaders' thinking is on that kind of timetable.
Councillor Hay?
So I think it's important that I say I'm not looking to abolish or for the working group to come up with the idea that we abolish any of the parish councils. If they choose to say that actually we don't want to exist anymore, then, you know, and there are things that are going to come out along the way that that are going to think, well, is our timeline going to work? But I think bearing in mind that if you want to create new parishes or extend parish areas, you're right, those are relatively simple in terms of a governance review. And given that parish councils only have their elections every 4 years, it would not make sense to not do that in as early as possible in the new year, so that for the financial precepts that they will undoubtedly want to raise. So that the bigger question is around what happens to the rest of the town, i.e. another parish or town councils don't know about that yet. If the government, and the reason I've set the timelines that we have is that I want this to be in place should the government have made its decision by 2027 or by then, or at least by February. I'm anticipating that we will know what the direction of travel is, and it's within our gift to be able to pause it should they decide to throw up everything else awry. But I think it's important that we start it, even if by the time we get to February, the government have said, actually, we've changed our mind on this, this and this, and the timelines are all different. All that will do is give us a bit more time. And actually, at the end of the day, the principle for me is about making sure that all of our residents have a local voice, don't just, for instance, where I live, I'm not part of a parish, so I will have no very local representation at all if we don't do something different as a town. And that's the important thing, is the local community voice to be heard.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? So I've got Councillor Steinhardt, Councillor Davies, and then Councillor Allen again. Councillor Steinhardt, Steve.
Right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wondered, when you talk about going out to consultation, to whom will you be consulting in the non-parished areas?
Councillor Hay.
So what we're doing, we've got a number of friends groups within quite a lot of our areas. So friends of groups, residents associations, it'll all be live. They'll be on the web as well. We will be using sort of all the social media bits that we can. And actually, to a large extent as well, I would look to councillors. You are leaders in your communities. And I would look to you to be able to spread that word. We'll also have drop-ins here as well for those that can't or don't want to do it online. So I don't think I've missed any of the means of communicating that in terms of the consultation.
Thank you. Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Mayor. Forgive my density at this question. This is the community governance review of the terms of reference. Yeah, are these the terms of reference? Am I misunderstanding what the report is?
Councillor Hay.
Sorry. So the review starts, what it's called, its title is Community Governance Review. That community governance review must have a term of reference. So we set those terms of reference, which is what you're voting on, hopefully, today. So it's twofold. It is, the community governance review, I don't need to, as leader, ask for that permission. I can ask for it to happen, but in order for it to happen, the terms of reference have to be agreed by full council. Does that make sense?
Do you want to come back?
Yeah, is that okay? It just because I read the end of the report and it said the date of publication of the terms of reference is the 19th of May. Does that mean we haven't got the terms of reference? Are we voting on something we haven't got?
You have got the terms of reference. The terms of reference are attached in as appendix to this. And they won't be published until the 19th because, they won't be published until the 19th because need council to approve.
So if I read all of this, I've read the terms of reference. Fine, that's all I wanted to check. Thank you.
It's appendix 3.
Shall I ask the monitoring officer, do you want to say something, any further clarification at this point?
No, I think Councillor Hay has covered it. that's covered it all. But yeah, it's just, so council are approving a set of terms of reference. So those terms of reference set out basically the terms of reference for the community governance review. And they won't go live until the 19th, because that's when we're subject to council approving them. That's when the official consultation will go live, and people will be able to engage with them.
Thank you. So another question from Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'm so sorry for the number of questions. I have a parish council meeting tonight, so I just want to double check that I've got all my facts right before I relay this on to them, if should it be approved. But am I right in thinking then that the timeline is also up for consultation, as well as the parameters and boundaries review, or is the timeline not up for review?
Monitoring officer.
Thanks. Yeah, so the timeline in the report is the indicative timeline. So that's kind of what we're working to. So it's kind of not up for consultation as such. But I think what we're trying to get across is that we could change it. So if I give you an example, let's say when we go out to the first stage of consultation, we get loads and loads of recommendations. When we come back to council in October to formulate those into what we need to go out for the second round. So the second round of consultation will be much more specific. So it'll be about, do you agree that this parish council boundary should change, or et cetera, et cetera. We might decide at that point to do everything that came through the consultation, or we might say, well, actually, this is a great set of recommendations that we can do, and do the reorganisation order in February, ready for the parish council elections in May. But there are some other things that are really big that actually trying to do those by February would be a bit ambitious. So maybe we'll push that bit, we'll consult on that, but push that bit of the timetable out. Does that make sense?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Councillor Bamford, another question.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm concerned about the speed with which these proposals are prepared to, with which the timetable is proposed to get this consultation carried out properly. I've been on our Padley Parish Council for 40 years. I think they're very valuable. I understand why we need to get some sort of local representation post-unitary. I'm very supportive of that. I'm just aware that, for instance, we don't have another meeting in our Padley Parish Council till July. Now, it would be at July that we set about the task of carrying out that consultation with our constituents and formulating our own view. I think that how this is proposed, it makes that very difficult for us to do a thorough job. I would rather a more steady approach to this timetable. Thank you.
I'm not sure there was a complete question in there, but I'll let. Do you one of you want to respond?
I was going to respond to it in a way that was actually, I'll respond to your comment, Councillor Bamford, and I will take it on board. But I am keen that we do everything that we can to get this in place for early next year.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? I'm not seeing any hands. So if we now open it to debate, so if any members want to speak, you have up to 3 minutes. Is there anyone that wants to speak on this? Councillor Atherstone.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just like to say that I welcome this review, and it does have an ambitious timeframe at the moment, and we don't know until we start whether we can achieve that timeline. I do know that there are pockets of Cheltenham that are within a ward boundary but are not within a parish boundary, and you can see the difference in terms of the infrastructure investment. So I think that there's potentially some great opportunities here to do a bit of tidying up as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Davies.
I just wanted to say I really like the idea of this report. I like the fact that, with the unitarisation, we mentioned last time about taking power away from local people. I think this review really makes sure that we're keeping local people involved in their local democracy and giving them the power to care about their area and make changes to the things that matter. So even though the timeline is quite fast, I still think that the purpose of this report is really on the right track.
Thank you. Are there any further comments? I'm not seeing any. I think from my point of view, as long as we do the best we can to consult as widely as we can, recognising how difficult that is, I think it's a very good report. So I now need to invite the leader. Is there anything else you wish to say before we move to the vote?
Only to say, please do actually act as those advocates and those champions of your local communities to encourage where you can, either setting up a new council or expanding, but do get involved yourselves.
Thank you. So if we move to the vote, I believe it's electronic. I think that's everyone that's here now, correct? Yeah. So that's passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item 13, which is to appoint chair of licensing committee. So Claire, if I can hand over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, so can I call for nominations for the chair of the licensing committee, please?
Councillor Hay.
Could I please nominate Councillor Simon Wheeler?
Thank you. Harvey to second.
Yeah, Chair, could I just second that nomination for Councillor Wheeler as Chair of Licensing, please?
Any other nominations? No. In that case, Councillor Wheeler is duly appointed as chair of the licensing committee. There's no need to vote because we'd only have one nomination. Just for clarity.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, Simon. Right, item 14 is notice of motions, and no motions have been received. Item 15 is any other item the Mayor determines as urgent and which requires a decision. You'll be glad to hear that there are none. So it's the time, quarter past 3, is that? I will declare the meeting closed. Please remember to hand your cards